Hey, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Good morning. Well, we had an early start again this morning. We've got someone coming. We finally crumbled, and we had some work being done on the guest house, which is having the windows put in and doors. So we finally crumbled and said, let's have a front door, which would be nice, as we've been sliding a huge piece of 3/4 ply back and forth on a metal stud track. So we're very happy about that. Might be a bit noisy in this video, sorry about that, but you know what it's like here. I just wanted to, we just gave some gifts. We passed on some gifts to Nisa's younger brother, and these were sent by code name from an anonymous donor, or an anonymous sponsor, who wanted him to have these gifts. That's Mr. and Mrs. Bean. So thanks a lot, Mr. and Mrs. Bean. Now let me just tell you what you saw in that video, because you'll be looking at a boy who didn't know how to process what was happening. Now, this is a boy living in a hilltop community, which is very simple life. It really is very simple life. In fact, if you've seen any of the video, sorry, I just had an interruption, so had to cut off there. So you're looking at a boy who is living in a very simple life, and things are extremely straightforward for him, and he doesn't react easily to unusual events. How does he process them? I mean, for someone who actually up to a couple of months ago was living in a house with no door, like no door at all, I mean, not even a piece of plywood, okay, and a dirt floor, and suddenly to be given a soccer ball. Not just given a soccer ball, he got the pump as well. This is typical of a Western approach to giving a gift. They think the gift through. Mr. and Mrs. Bean said, well, what's the point in giving the boy a ball if he can't pump it up when it starts to go down, which it will, of course. So they bought a pump with all of the fittings, and they labeled it and said, this is for Nisa's younger brother. Now, how did the boy process that? Well, it kind of went like this. So, Mr. and Mrs. Bean would like you to have this soccer ball, and they'd like you to have the pump in case it goes down. And they also wanted you to have a frisbee, because every kid in America has a frisbee, or has had one at some time or other. So here's a frisbee for yourself. And we also wanted you to have some food as well. So here's some spam and some other things, and a bar of chocolate. Now, if you really want to, coached my wife Beth, you can say, thanks, Mrs. Bean. Thank you. So as you can see, he ran, as one theatrical critic once said of Engelbert Humperdinck when he made his entrance onto the stage in London. The critic went to see him, and he said that Engelbert ran the whole gamut of emotions from A to B, and that was what the boy did. This really brings us to the subject of what I'm trying to talk about here. It's not about the boy. He did exactly what he was able to do, and he walked off with a bag with all of his gifts, wondering what the hell happened there. And sooner or later he'll look at the ball and say, hey, this is my ball. And and his emotions will loosen up, and he'll understand that he's been given a great gift by somebody who doesn't even know him. It brings us to the subject of help. Now, anybody who's watching our videos knows that Beth and I have found a mission in life to help, and we can't help everybody, and we can only help because we have generous subscribers who send us the cash to be able to do what we do. But as far as anybody here goes, it's us handing out the help. We're helping. And what have we discovered about helping? Well, help is a very, very loaded word. And not everybody can understand what is happening. They, in their own kind of way, they're exactly the same as that boy. They can't process what is happening. Now, for the trolls and the haters and those people who don't believe that anything good in life happens, they will simply misprocess it and say, yeah, well, it's a scam. It's a scam. They're doing this and they're doing that, and they're creaming this and they're scamming that and trimming the other, and on all of that, and that's how they'll process it. For other people, they won't be able to understand why someone that they don't know is willing to give this incredible help. I mean, you in the West, how would you process someone coming along and saying, we can build your damaged house? You would say, why? You would respond almost the same as that boy. That's what you would do but in your own way. Now, help is not an easy subject. People often cannot accept help. We have someone in our lives who insists on staying on the outskirts of the family, who simply cannot accept help. And it's a strange thing for someone who is willing, as we are, to give the help, and for those people who make it possible, empower us to be able to give that help. It's hard for us to understand what is the dynamic that is going on here that would stop a person from help. We've driven along the road in the rain down to on a mud path down to the road and offered a person a ride. Come on, you can get in. And perhaps there was, in some cases, there's arguments or disagreements and everything, and then the person refuses the help. No, thank you. No, I'll walk. No. I say, please get in. It's okay. Just forget. For the moment, forget whatever the disagreements are. We're trying to help. Oh, that's the almost deadly word. No, I'm fine. I'd rather walk. And they refuse, and they walk in the rain. That's how emotive a word and a deed, help, can be. I don't want your help is a frequent thing. Now recently, anybody who watched one of the few videos that we made about going to meet Larry Malley and his mission, medical mission matters. Now, this is a man who was a cop for 32 years, putting bad guys away. So I think, I may be wrong, but I think he was a cop in New York, which is a tough city as I understand it. So we were talking, and during that memorable time that I had with him, in which he explained his mission, how it happened, how this incredible mission of changing the lives of thousands. Believe me, thousands of children are growing up to be adults with a hair lip that is virtually invisible due to the incredible surgeons and equipment that they have got together, and their great skill and huge, huge heart. And they've changed the lives of these kids so that they can actually talk. Don't know whether you know, but when you have a cleft palate, there's nothing up there. There's nothing for the tongue to be able to do what it's designed to do, and they can't actually pronounce words in the same way that you and I can. And when that palate is reinstated, they can. They'll no longer go along walking like this in case somebody sees them. They'll hold things in front of their mouths. They'll wear masks. They'll do all kinds of things, because until you have that operation, there's simply nothing here. It's just a gap. So they're deeply ashamed by this. And then these team of miracle workers come along, and they do what they do, and it's amazing. But talking to Larry, he said something which I consider is a memorable quote. On the basis of 32 years on the force, where he was one of the detectives that went in and worked out what had happened, who done it. And he said, help is a very, very hard thing to do. It's hard. He said, it was easier for me to put up behind bars some hard-assed, bad-assed criminal than it is to help someone. That sometimes he has to really battle to get someone to accept help. He can't get people to get in the truck when it's raining either, just like us. It's a different truck, it's a different thing. We had the same thing when we tried to help diabetic Michael. If you might remember, that when we went along and we went to do a checkup to see what was happening, Michael had stopped taking insulin because his mother thought that a health drink would do the job better. A health juice. Okay? It's hard to help. And as I said, it evokes in people a different response. For those who are truly in need of change, they will leap at that chance, especially for their child. But they have to be good parents, and they have to be willing to make a little sacrifice, to go into the unknown, to trust. In one case, in the first case, it might be a foreigner. They have to take pills. They have to do, this is for Larry Malley's mission. And then sometimes there will be cases where false reporting on things like children being kidnapped for their body parts. They take a heart, take a liver, take a kidney, and then leave the body. So there are people, surgeons, certainly surgical minded enough to be able to open a body, a live body, and take out an organ and discard the child. And if you are led to believe that this is rife, that there's this grey van that is touring the streets of your area picking up children, you might be a little hesitant about taking your child and handing him over, her over. And in fact, in the case of Larry, they allow watchers. So I guess the parent can actually keep everything in sight, totally all the way, if they can stand it, because it's a little graphic. So, help is hard, and it can be a thankless thing. If you think biblically, I remember stories from school where Jesus Christ did great miracles, and in one session he did a whole series of great miracles where he brought people back to life, cured blindness, cured all kinds of things, amazing miracles that would have the audience in disbelief, and especially the people that had the miracle done to them. And after that whole session, only one man came back to say thank you. Just one man. Now, when we give whatever help that we give, we like to have the person say the name of their sponsor, and like in the case of that young kid that I just talked about, to say, thank you, Mrs. Bean. And sometimes they just can't do that. And it's our job as the helper to try to understand that not everybody can say thank you in a way that suits everybody else. Sometimes just taking the gift and looking grateful is as much as they can do. So remember, helping is hard. We thank you for looking in, we thank you for helping, and we thank you for empowering us, all of those people who send gifts. We thank you for helping us to help all of those who are desperately in need and don't know where to turn. This is a foreigner in the Philippines.